for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I just wanted to say, as we go into a moment of silence, that if everybody would want to take some thoughts about Rudy. I put a flower on his usual chair area, and he meant a lot to a lot of us, and he will be missed. So let's have a moment of silence, please. Okay. I'm sure we'll share more about Rudy later, but he was here all the time. Well, he'll definitely be missed. For people that don't know, Rudy Chelsea passed away about a week ago. His services are tomorrow at St. Rose Delima at 10 a.m. St. Rose, what did it say, Delima? Oh. I was thinking of when I was in Tucson. Yeah,
it's still not deep.
I was doing the Spanish, so St. Rose Delima. All right, so let's move into approval of minutes. We have 4 different approvals to do. First is from the May 11th, 2026 Select Board Public Meeting.
I will move approval of those minutes.
Okay.
May 11th public meeting.
All right, Taylor made the motion. Who'd like to second?
I'll second.
Paul second. Any discussion or changes? Linda? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, that's 5-0-0. Okay, the next one is the May 11th non-public we had after the meeting. Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the non-public
Okay.
minutes from May 11th.
Thanks, Ed. Second, anyone?
I'll second.
Okay, Paul seconds. And any discussion on that one? All in favor? Aye. 5-0-0. Okay, the next one is the work session that we did on May 21st, 2026. We did at the town office. Any changes or edits?
Nope,
No? Okay.
not for me.
Who would like to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right, Paul made the motion.
May 21 minutes.
Okay.
Second.
Ed seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0-0. And the last one is the 521 non-public work session that we went into right following that last meeting.
I'll move those approval for those minutes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
And Ed seconds. Taylor motions and Ed seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 5-0-0. All right, great. For business, we have a few items. Our first one is that Val Poulsen wrote us to, I, Val Poulsen, wish to remain on the Conservation Commission for another 3-year term. We received that on May 19th, and we have to appoint him, right, Vicki? Because we didn't formally appoint him. So I can make a motion to appoint Val Poulsen to the Conservation Commission.
I'll second.
Linda seconds. Any discussion? Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 5-0-0. Okay. The next is, we have to authorize the bond and loan agreement. Do you want to say anything about this, Troy?
Yeah, I think, I know this has been on your agenda a lot lately, but this is hopefully our last step. As you know, we had the $2.5 million emergency bond approved back in December. We just went out for public bid and responses from different financial agencies, and based on the results that came back, the board determined that they weren't that happy with the interest rates and that we would reject those and try to participate in the upcoming bond sale through the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank. So that's part of this action this evening, is to finance that $2.5 million. Lori, in working the last 3 months on trying to get things financed, in discussions with the bond bank, learned that we could potentially look at refinancing the bonds that were in place for previous warrant articles for the Dells Dam project, and we have a warrant article that replaced 4 or 5 culverts. And based on our estimates, it looks like we could potentially save about $30,000 in interest cost over the life of those bonds. So this action tonight rolls that debt into this resolution and loan agreement. If approved this evening, the next step obviously would be this all goes down to the bond bank. It goes out to bid in July, and I think we'll probably learn in early August what the results are. The good thing is too, with the bond bank, they are guaranteeing us that they will be accepting 4.5% or less for interest rate. So if the lowest bidder comes in about 4.5%, they will reject everything and rebid again. So, anything else you'd like to add, Lori?
I think that's good. I know the two that we currently have that we're refinancing, they're at 5.5%, so.
Going down the whole,
Yeah, well,
whole
at least
percent or
at least
more.
the whole percent, so yeah.
So this replaces the entirety of the 2.5 million. Is it also the entirety of the Dells work and some culvert work rolled into one?
Right.
Yeah, because it's at
It
3.3.
doesn't replace the $2.5 million because we've not.
It's bonding,
Not financed.
bonding 2.5 million plus. And Dells, did we finance that when we're rolling it, or was that? Has it been?
So we did finance it. I think we.
Like we're turning it for better.
5%.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's the Dells and the culvert debt that we're hoping to reduce by a whole percentage, at least.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer, I think.
Yeah.
Go with the lower rate.
Yeah, definitely.
Much appreciated.
Yeah. Taxpayers appreciate it. Thanks for doing the work, Lori.
The resolution, I know we had to read the resolution for the last public hearing, but does it need to be read into?
This one's shorter than the last one.
I don't know. It's pretty long.
No, it just has a little yellow. That's
Oh,
all it
I
is.
don't know. Do you need me to read through the whole thing? Oh, boy. All right.
Bait and switch here.
No, it's okay. Let's do it right. We got a chance to do it right.
We're doing this without any practice.
Would anyone else like to practice reading besides
And
me?
directly in the breath too.
No. All right. I'm going to do it unless we want to discuss it. Let me read it. We'll still have discussion before the vote. Okay. Vote regarding authorization of bonds and approval of loan agreement with the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank. We have to read all of this part. Okay. The following resolutions to be adopted at the 6/8/2026 BOS meeting. Resolved that under and pursuant to the Municipal Finance Act, Chapter 33, NHRSA, as amended, the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank Law, Chapter 35-A, NHRSA, as amended, and other laws in addition thereto, and to votes of the issuer duly adopted on December 29th, 2025, under Article 1 of the warrant, for such special meeting of the issuer, and to votes of the board duly adopted on May 21st, 2026, under a resolution, authorizing the issuance of refunding bonds pursuant to NHRSA. 33:3-D, there be and hereby is authorized the issuance of a $3,392,180 bond of the issuer, which is being issued by the issuer to finance the current refunding of the issuer's $800,000 bond anticipation note dated May 7th, 2026, and maturing on August 17, 2026, which note was issued to finance the purchase of replacement parts and making necessary repairs to Littleton wastewater treatment plant to restore the facility to operational use and expenses, including but not limited to those related to the repair and/or replacement of failed equipment at the wastewater treatment plant, as well as those expenses to manage the disposal of the wastewater produced until such time as the repaired and/or replaced equipment is fully operational. $800,000. New money cost of the wastewater project, $1,700,000, and the current refunding of the issuer's general obligation note number R1, dated as of July 25th, 2024, which matures on January 25th, 2031, in the aggregate outstanding principal amount of $430,142.86, and which was issued to finance the improvements to Dell's Dam by the Public Works Department, and the issuer's general obligation note number R2, dated as of July 25th, 2024, which matures on January 25th, 2031, in the aggregate outstanding principal amount of $435,714.30, which was issued to finance reparations to road culverts by the Public Works Highway Department, and both of which general obligation notes are eligible to be refunded at par at any time without penalty, which is $892,180. The bond shall be dated as of its date of issuance, shall be in such numbers and denominations as the purchaser shall request, shall mature in accordance with the schedule set forth in Exhibit A to a certain loan agreement hereinafter described, the loan agreement, shall bear a net interest cost rate of 4.5%, 4.5 per annum, or such lesser amount as may be determined by a majority of the board. The bond shall be substantially in the form set forth as Exhibit B to the loan agreement, and otherwise shall be issued in such manner and form as the signatory shall approve by their execution thereof. Resolved, that the bond shall be sold to the bond bank at the par level thereof plus any applicable premium. Resolved, that in order to evidence the sale of the bond, the treasurer of issuer and a member of the board are authorized and directed to execute, attest, and deliver in the name and on behalf of the issuer, a loan agreement in substantially the form submitted to this meeting, which is hereby approved with such changes therein not inconsistent with this vote, and approved by the officers executing the same on behalf of the issuer. The approval of such changes by said officers shall be conclusively evidenced by the execution of the loan agreement by such officers. Resolved, that all things heretofore done and all action heretofore taken by the issuer and its officers and agents in its authorization of the project to be financed by the bond are hereby ratified, approved, and confirmed. Resolved, that the clerk and the signers of the bond are each hereby authorized to take any and all action necessary and convenient to carry out the provisions of this vote, including delivering the bond against payment therefor. Resolved, that the useful lives of the projects being financed are in excess of 10 years.
Well done.
All right, so discussion? We will, thank you.
Can you read it again?
I missed something.
I blinked out.
You missed the here too, or this too, or
I fell asleep.
the issuer's bond, and I know, it's wordy. Do you see the motion right there if anybody would like to make it? Unless you have
You're doing great.
Thank you.
Keep going.
Whew, I can need to take a breath. I think we are going to move forward with it and not take comments from because we've already done a public hearing with it and
You
everything.
shouldn't do it until you get to hear me. To be honest with you.
We can bring to the board. Does the board want to open it up to public comments at this point? Anyone?
Fine with me.
Fine with you? Fine? No? I'll take a vote, okay. Who wants to take it to public comments? Raise your hand. Two. You got one? Okay. All right. All right, so we're going to move without public comment just on this part, and then you can save it for your public comment at the end.
No.
All right, so would anyone like to make the resolution? Make the motion, please. Okay.
This is the yellow, easy part, right?
Yeah.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of $3,392,180 bond and execution of the loan agreement with New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank as presented.
Okay. Anyone want a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, 500, Vicky.
Just need your signature on 4 copies.
Okay, do you want us to just do them now?
Yeah, it should be. If I have to sign them out for something.
All right. Am I just doing this one? Yep. All right.
They're all the same copies.
Right. Right.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Do we, yep, we all have to sign this one.
Roy, did you have one that you signed?
Oh, this one. I'll pass it around.
Yeah. You got
Oh, darn. All right.
she signed the resolution?
All right.
Don't need the long.
You got the resolution?
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, passing it around.
Oh,
All right. Thank you. I'll wait to introduce the next thing as everybody's signing stuff. Betsy?
Right back to Ed.
All right. Thank you. Okay, next up is 2027 non-union employee COLA approval. And this is also presented by Manager Brown.
okay. You have some information, a cover letter and some backup material that Lori has provided, her research. I'll just, for the record, I'll go ahead and just read my memo and enter it into the record. On May 11, 2026, the Select Board adopted the town's budget development and procedures policy. As part of that policy, the Select Board is required to establish the annual cost of living adjustment, COLA, for all non-union employees on or before June 30th of each year. The Finance Director has provided historical wage and inflation data for the Board's review. Current Consumer Price Index, known as CPI, data for the Northeast region indicates inflation has increased by approximately 4.4% over the 12-month period ending April 26. The New England region experienced a 4% increase during the same period. The town recently concluded collective bargaining negotiations with both the police department and the highway transfer station bargaining units. Under those agreements, union employees received a 3.5% COLA adjustment. In addition to the COLA adjustment increase, eligible union employees also received step increases of approximately 3% based on their position within the wage scale. Given the current inflationary pressures, the recently negotiated union settlements, and the town's ongoing efforts to attract and retain qualified leadership personnel, it is recommended that the Select Board establish a minimum fiscal year 2027 COLA of 3.5% for all non-union employees. So this practice started a few years ago as part of that budget development policy that we recently reviewed and updated. And the reason being is we wanted to be able to capture what we know the COLA is going on in the region. We know what we've promised our collective bargaining groups. And as we're developing the budget, on the onset, being able to have finance and department heads be able to calculate every single employee's estimated wage for the next 12 months, instead of going back and saying, well, why don't we come out with 4%, then we go back to 3.5, and we throw these numbers around throughout the budget process. And so this has been a cleaner process for the board as we put together the proposed budget.
guessing this will warrant some discussion, or maybe not, but anybody wants to have some thoughts?
Just it seems consistent with where everybody else is.
I mean, you can do it later in the year and have a more up-to-date number, but that's, like you said, you don't want to whipsaw the budget up and down, so you would want to lock it at this point, more or less.
Because we'll start, our budget development process will start early July, and that way the department heads know what the COLA is to be able to calculate it in. And our policy says, June 3rd.
I still got a question.
Yeah, well, this one I'll open it up to a couple questions because we didn't have a public hearing about this and we're going to take a vote. So go ahead, Bruce.
Well, it bothered me substantially of how the people did it in here. The town of Littleton, in turn, in the past has used a group of towns in the state, such as Newport, which they used at towns that in turn had about the same population, roughly, and the same budgets out of it. And what I understand is that the town manager went and used the formula of Grafton County to establish the money. Now, Grafton County, in turn, on this end of it, is a little bit different than Lebanon, New Hampshire, which is a city, and Hanover, which has got Dartmouth College that pays all of that. So when you people in turn start to make adjustments on something on the basis of that, it's not a comparable on Littleton comparing it to what you people have done on this thing as far as wages are concerned. You should have compared things on the basis of what the town has done in the past of it, not on the basis of using Grafton County. Grafton County is a big county, and it's got a city with Lebanon, and it's got Hanover. And when you use those two people to apply the factors to it, we're getting blown out of the water. The public is pretending to as to whether it's in here. I'm not saying that it's 100%, but I'm saying that you don't in turn utilize Littleton, New Hampshire with Lebanon and Hanover. This is wrong. You turn around, when you apply it, you should be getting comparable towns within the state of New Hampshire out of it, or something like that. Most of them would be down south, there's no question about it, but when you in turn apply that, there's a complete difference. And when you get your budgets and when you're talking about paying these people, you're wrong on what you're doing with Grafton County. It's wrong. And I just do not feel the fact that it was done properly.
Well, thanks for sharing your opinion. I wanted to just note that the current consumer price index was what this particular thing in motion is for, which is at 4.4%. So we're asking to do the 3.5, which is still, so it was actually comparative about a nationwide and even the Northeast region. This particular motion, I'm saying, is based on that. Mary?
That was the point I was going to make.
Okay.
I think that Bruce is probably addressing perhaps the collective bargaining.
I think you're talking about the PD, yeah.
But,
which we've gone.
but that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
And we're now just talking about a cost of living increase
Right.
to keep up with inflation.
Correct, yeah, thank you.
And there is on the second graph that the town manager provided to us, it has New Hampshire on here.
It has what?
New Hampshire, the second graph. This one.
Well, there's two things. One is, I think, the wage salary basis that Bruce is raising, which is, I think, a valid point of what you use for comps. This is strictly looking at the inflation for non-union employees, which is more broad-based over New England.
Yeah.
All right. I think maybe your point is about the base itself, and comparing it with Lebanon or Hanover may not be adequate because those are
It's not a good fit.
Yeah, and it wasn't compared just to those two, which is good.
Right.
Okay.
Do we revisit this with the actual proposed budget, or how locked is locked? Not that I want to have it be completely
Good question.
open. I think technically it gets revisited until the budget's approved. I don't think you want to, I know you're not inviting this.
It gets brought up by budget.
Let's switch it, right? The idea is for budget planning, but in fact, until the budget is voted on by the board and ultimately adopted or not by the town meeting, it's a draft number.
Yeah, this is this very small, this is basically this is your department heads and a couple other mid-management.
Department heads without contracts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Not
that's right. So some of the.
Right, so it's a very small number of
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
It's like 4.
So this is just capturing those non-union, there's got to be probably less than 12 employees that are captured in this. All your other employees have collective bargaining agreements, 2 of which will be negotiating this summer, and the other 2, as we said, we just locked in 3.5% COLA adjustments for the next 3 years.
It's just kind of basically
You don't want to disadvantage people merely because they're non-union and don't have the benefit of collective bargaining. I think that's another point to make on that.
Agreed, good point.
If we need a vote, I'll move to.
Yeah, we have a recommended motion if we're there yet, unless anybody else had anything else to discuss. Looks like we're ready for a motion. Go ahead, Ed.
Move to establish a 3.5% cost of living adjustment for all non-union employees, effective the 1st April 2027 pay period, and direct staff to incorporate the adjustment into the proposed fiscal year 2027 operating budget.
Okay.
Second.
And Taylor seconds, all right. Any more discussion before we take a vote? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, 5-0, Vicky. All right, and next up, we have Lori Hogan, and the 2 items are placed right in a row, so you do one at a time. The first one is Littleton Water and Light Reorganization Notice, and we have Lori Hogan, CEO, with us here.
Yeah, so with Peter Cooper being reappointed to the commission, we did our annual reorganization. Peter was once again president, Ralph as secretary, and myself as treasurer.
Okay.
That's the recommendation of the commissioners by their vote.
Great. Do you do that every year?
Every year, yeah, because we have a turnover.
Oh, right.
Every
Right.
year, yeah.
Yeah.
But it hasn't changed in a while.
Right.
We can't talk anybody else into being president, so. Don't tell them I said that.
I thought reorganization was going to be some big exciting thing.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Just kind of new, yeah.
yeah, I did it for 1 year, that was enough, thank you very much.
Okay, and then the second news you wanted to give us was an update on Littleton Water and Light bylaws addressing a concern was raised by a constituent last meeting.
So Bruce brought it to the board's attention that our charter requires equal, different political parties. The commissioners to be, they cannot all be in the same political party. But when we went back and researched it, that was amended in 1979 through state legislation that struck it from the charter. So that's no longer a requirement. I just wanted to follow up on it for Bruce and close that chapter.
I appreciate you researching it and bringing it back to us because I did not know that, and it would be good. And Bruce, I'm glad you have a lot of history and you have a lot of knowledge, so it's great that you brought it up.
She brought it to my attention out of it, and I think there was another part of that too.
Oh,
Before that, the Water and Light Department in turn used to take, and any time if you owned a commercial building or anything like this on it, they were responsible, the owners were responsible if somebody didn't pay their bills. Well, it happened to be Phil Poulsen's father was on the, down in Concord. And Phil in turn ended up buying the old Saranac glove factory on Fingham. And when he did, suddenly the tenant in turn filed bankruptcy. Okay? And he got stuck with a bill. So Mr. Poulsen went along with the same thing as this. Mr. Poulsen went down and had it changed. And I'm a believer in what they did. Because the fact is, it put the burden onto the Water and Light Department to collect the money on it from anybody in turn who has a bill, versus having the people in turn have to be responsible if you owned a commercial piece of property or any piece of property and you rented it out. It was certainly, and it went that way for, geez, probably 75 years. kind of thing on it.
Sounds like a good change.
And it was a good change from the point of that, and it made the water and light department be more responsible for washing the pennies out of things. But that was tied in with that same thing on it as far as the political part of it.
Great, thank you. All right, there's no formal, that was just information. So thank you, Lori, for coming in. All right, next is we're going to review some proposed administrative fee changes. We've gone over transfer station, I think we did the fire. This is more like town clerk fees, planning and zoning fees and such. Are you, yes, you are also
Yeah, I'll
on about
introduce
this? Okay.
And so what I've done here is, as many of you are on this board, I think 2 new members probably watched us work on some fees last year. And it was, I kind of chose to hit the different departments, knowing the transfer station was the one area where we were definitely losing money. And the rising cost of disposing of waste was increasing tremendously. So we, last year, and the fire department had a lot of discussions at the budget committee level of the services they provide, and some feedback we were receiving during that budget development process was working on fees. So last year we covered the transfer station and the fire department. This schedule that you have in your packet right now, I consider this our master fee schedule. However, what I'm looking at doing this year, our first step, is to focus on our administrative fees, town clerk fees, tax collector fees, planning and zoning, the opera house is in here, and then I think that's going to be it.
Basically up to transfer station, the first 2.5 pages of it.
And then hopefully we'll work through these, and then my next step will be to work with our I call them the police department, but the parking fees and all those types of fees. That's going to be a lot of work.
That'll be the hardest one,
It's
perhaps.
probably going to be the hardest one, and going to require a lot of, I think, engagement with the community. So that's my plan, kind of 3 steps. We did the first step last year. Now what you have before you this evening is the second step, and then hopefully towards the end of the summer, we'll start working on that 3rd step.
So I want to just reiterate that there'll be a public hearing eventually on all of them, right?
Yeah,
Correct?
so it's required
So this is
that
just discussion.
when we change our fees, we are required to post notice in the newspaper, our website. And as you recall, last year was a pretty significant posting because of the fee for the fire department and transfer station. And obviously, I do not want to proceed forward with a public hearing unless this board is in agreement and prepared, to support what we're proposing. So that I don't want to get to a public hearing and we're still undecided, unless we truly are undecided, and before we can make a decision, we want to hear from the public. But if we can all come to an agreement, we support it, that's the best way to go into the public hearing for fees.
Agreed.
So let me just start off with, this is just really no action required tonight, just consensus feedback from the board. For administrative fees, the only 2 that we're looking to change is we have a category, a print copy of all town ordinances, excluding the zoning. So literally I read that, interpret that someone could come in and say, I want a copy of all the town ordinances. And that fee is set at $37.50 right now. I put it at 100. I still don't know if that really would capture the true cost of printing all the ordinances, but I feel pretty comfortable that at least having that fee there, we don't often get this request.
How many
I haven't
pages would
seen
that
it.
be? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if you go on our website, you'll see we have
30.
about 20 different ordinances.
Yeah, we have like 32 or 34 ordinances.
People can, the request really won't come in that, it probably will never happen because people can download it, print it off the website. But if someone did come in, right now I only charged them $37.50. I know that wouldn't cover our basic printing costs. So,
Do, like you said, doesn't happen very often, and all of them are accessible through the website to read or
Yes.
print on your own.
And we actually right now, just want to reinforce it, but we do have a return check fee of $25 plus whatever that certified mailing fee cost is. It's a practice that we have. I want to add it to the schedule and just have it go through that ratification process through the public hearing.
And does that happen often, the return check thing? I mean, yeah, that one's more common. I
Angie
guess.
is, yeah, probably
Yeah.
at her department quite often.
Yeah.
The
I have
tax
4 right now.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow, okay.
And that, you're already doing that, the 25.
We are doing it, and it's not listed on the current master fee schedule, so I just wanted to be able to have it in the
Yeah,
record
it should be on there.
in case you ever get, it's our question.
Is that's kind of the standard fee when it happens with a bank? I don't ever write that.
Yeah, it's-
I was gonna say, usually it's $35, I think.
It can be,
now.
yeah, for a
It can
bank.
be up to
No longer standard,
$35.
they've increased all those.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the town clerk fees, we don't have to, a lot of these dog license fees a year ago were $1 more, but the town meeting vote changed that and took out $1 off.
Yeah.
So these are all been reduced and no action required on this town, on the select board's part, because it was done by town meeting vote.
I have a question about this, I'm just ignorant to this. Are these set by, we can set these, or are these kind of standard by state? Do they say you can only charge $10 for?
So most, and again, town clerk and I had a discussion about this, some of these fees listed on the town clerk are set by state law.
That's what I was wondering, yeah.
But it's very common for towns to show them in their master fee schedule, just so that
Yep.
it's there.
Okay.
But we had one, and Angie brought forward to my attention, a pawn license. It's been $75 for some time now, and we think we should move that up to $100. The tax collector, we actually have a recommendation that we remove a category. We just don't know what this category is for. We've asked the assessors. Amy doesn't recall ever charging it, so we have a fee for tax cards, single or double-sided, $1. But then the next category is assessed value sheets, double-sided, $15. And
Same thing.
I know.
I think it's the
Maybe
same
more
thing.
detailed or something, I don't know what it
I don't
was.
know, but we just print tax cards.
Yeah.
Bruce was remember.
Assessed
Bruce,
value sheets.
Did we used to have an actual card on file in the town? Do you remember that?
No, I don't, to be honest with you, I don't. But I think in turn that what you should be doing is not correlating it with the state. If you've got a bank that you're dealing with, you should be correlating it with what the bank charges that you're dealing with, because they could be completely different.
Oh, as far as the.
Unless it's regulatory, where we have to charge so much, some of them are. I don't know, actually, Angie, are some of these just mandated, like marriage license is a fee no matter what, or?
Oh yeah, you guys can't change it.
We can't change some of them, Bruce, that's the issue.
Marriage license probably should be closer to $1,000.
Make people really think about it before they get married. That's good.
Half now, half later.
$50 is way too cheap for that kind of commitment. I like that. That's funny.
Yeah, so we're recommending we remove that category. Like I said, Amy's been here for a long time. She does not recall ever charging it. So we think it's just either it was intended for a tax card or maybe something a long, long time ago.
Well, she hasn't had one.
Or you
go
had
out.
software, you know?
Yeah, and she's been here for.
She's been here for years, so.
Yeah, for a long while, so if she hasn't used it, then it's probably obsolete.
Yeah.
I think there is a late fee if you don't pay.
Yes,
Yeah,
And that's based on the state. It used to be as
Yeah.
high as 18%.
it's high, yeah.
yeah, it is fine.
If you don't pay your property tax,
It
yeah,
should be.
there's fees.
Yep.
And so moving on to the next category where you see most of the proposed changes for this round is planning and zoning fees. So I just want to let the board know that we recently became aware that as we were interacting with our legal counsel, that the methodology that we use currently right now based on a per square foot calculation, it was recommended that we move away from that type of methodology because we don't have a building inspector and we don't enforce a building code. So most towns that charge an amount per square foot, typically what that methodology is trying to capture is the total cost of reviewing the plans, doing multiple inspections throughout phases of construction, and doing a final CO and sign off. So we don't do that because we don't have a building inspector, we don't enforce the building code. It's recommended that we move to a flat fee system. And so that's why you're seeing the changes here from the cost per square foot to a flat fee. So the change would be, as proposed, a residential construction that would have a flat fee of $200 opposed to 5 cents per square foot. And then we broke up commercial because we did have, for new commercial construction, it was 10 cents per square foot. We thought we should break it up into 2 different categories. So for commercial construction, 25,000 square feet or less would be a flat $1,000 fee. And commercial construction greater than 25,000 square feet would be a $2,000 flat fee. You see the donation.
Can I just ask as we
Sure.
go along, how did you get, what was the
Yeah.
25,000? What was the rationale for using that as the threshold?
We've got Joanna here too, if there was a
Oh.
thing. Just large commercial versus
Well, the
small.
zoning ordinance has a section for commercial review with the planning board, and the threshold is 25,000 square feet.
And we've had some discussion because Chief Miller is involved with a lot of, he's our building official and our zoning administrator, and because of the fire department, he's involved in all this. Joanna's involved in reviewing an application. So we kind of had a discussion about when you have a flat fee, what is your intent? What are you trying to do? We're trying to the best of our ability to capture the town's cost of, receiving this application and processing it. And in doing so, when you start thinking about Chad's time, I'm involved a little bit, Joanna's time spent planning board, zoning board level, because your application may require planning board review, might require a variance. The amount of money we've spent on an annual basis in our GIS system, administrative time, updating zoning ordinance and stuff. So this fee kind of represents a way for us to try to capture our operating costs for labor, technology, and investment in the building, everything, and that's what this is for. So I don't have a straight methodology. It was a general consensus among staff of how we could handle this.
And it doesn't delineate or between, it can't, right, legally, like a mom and pop shop that's a couple thousand square feet on Main Street versus Lowe's.
Right, and that's
So we have
why we broke it up by
$1,000.
square footage and.
Yeah, you can't do that legally. You can't say big box stores pay more necessarily, or can you?
In this case,
Well, it's a
at least at 25,000,
It's bigger.
it would
Yeah.
be a cheaper, the fee would go down because you're going from.
You're saving a little bit of money.
It's like $500 less.
Yes,
It's only for new
For
construction.
larger facilities.
only for new construction.
Oh, this is
Correct.
just for new construction.
Correct. Yeah, so this isn't, somebody moving into a building downtown that was a restaurant and now it's going to be a
Oh,
mercantile
okay.
business. That if the building's pre-existing, the permit is only required when the footprint of the building changes,
Oh, not change of use, okay.
not change of use.
Okay.
We don't track the use at that level.
So under this, the casino essentially rebuilding out the footprint of the Staples would be a $50 fee for that. That's not new,
That's not changing the footprint of the building.
it's not new construction, so it would be $50.
No, there's no footprint change, no, it doesn't require.
Zero. Their paid us will be taxes.
Well, it said alteration before, it was lined out. Alteration sounds like a build out that's different.
It's not supported by the ordinance, yeah, so it would be that there's no change in the footprint, so I'm not aware of, from what I understand, what they're proposing doesn't change the footprint of that Staples building, so no permits would be required.
So what is an alteration then?
Altering the footprint.
That's a footprint, so if somebody adds a little addition to the Staples building, there's a $50 fee. It's not a new construction, but it alters the, okay.
Was Tractor Supply?
Right,
Built
they-
that awning or did something, they required to pay and all.
Yeah, they took a portion of the building off, so they had a permit.
Yeah. So that's an existing building that did some work, it did trigger some permitting.
I mean, to me, these seem really low, but then again, I think the question was, what are we doing for this? And I guess if it covers the life safety inspection, which is primarily what we're doing, and administrative costs, it's hard to charge. Sounds like you say it's hard to charge more than that as just, this is our fee, we're going to charge you $30,000 when we're not doing site plan review or code review. Is that the angle behind this? Because the fees seem really low.
Because I think there are other towns that charge stores a lot.
You could build
right?
a Walmart for a $2,000 fee.
Right,
That's a
right.
bargain.
Yes,
in
because I
almost
think
any
it costs a
town.
lot more to
And
go.
I'm not saying we should soak people like that. I'm just saying that if there are other towns that are charging more, but then again, question, we went back and forth, like, well, what are we doing for it?
We don't have anything to do.
That's
other
right,
than
and if we're not,
take some
I'm not trying to say, let's just tax on doing business, that's not reasonable, and if we're not really doing much, typically it would be for multiple code enforcement, structural, electrical, concrete pour.
We don't have all
Third
that.
party, there's a whole lot, certificate of occupancy, all that stuff that usually goes on.
We'd be paying another person to be in a building inspector or site plan review board, and then we would need more money to pay for the services. I'm going to have Lori speak, and then Bruce, I'll get to you right after Lori. I just wanted to.
One thing you're not considering too is a lot of time water departments are part of the town, part of DPW. So there's also water connection fees.
That's true, and sewer
So,
fees too.
and that's when you start to uptick, because a residence, probably about $2,500. But when you get to the commercial and you're hooking up an 8-inch fire flow
Yeah.
for a sprinkler,
Yeah.
you're talking 60-something thousand per connection. So you gotta look at it all together, is what I'm saying.
And as a general comment, we've never done impact fees. That's not part of our,
That's all.
I'm not trying to open a whole can of worms, it's just that
No, this is good stuff to talk about.
typically what you have, for example, if someone builds a 100-unit apartment building, there may be a road impact or school impact fee. All right, sometimes there's a park fee, whatever it is, to reflect that it imposes an impact on town services. And for large, typically large builds, that's done in some other towns, all right, it's an impact fee. Now, those are strictly fenced, they're very narrow, you can't, done slush fund, they can only, if you say it's an impact on the sidewalk, it can only be used for sidewalks within 5 years, 4 years, 4 years. Yeah, so there are places where towns do that and they end up returning the money because they haven't expended in time.
Right.
All right.
So it's
But
just a
something that-
retainer
Something to
kind of.
think about as we grow
And it's the wastewater treatment.
is particularly roads and sidewalk, particularly
Sewer.
roads, I think, sewer, where there are impacts on infrastructure.
When I was on the planning board, oh gosh, how many years ago, Joanna?
Probably
We had
3 or 4.
quite a discussion, what was it, 1 or 2 years that we talked about impact fees. When, I'm trying to think of who was coming down into the meadow.
Starbucks.
That was, yeah, well, we don't want to talk about that one. But it had been a very, very heavy discussion on the planning board level of impact fees. And at the time, the RSA stated we had to have a CIP in place, which is what we started doing, try to do it on an annual basis. Without the CIP, you cannot have the impact fees.
Okay.
So that was, Yeah, that was, we talked about that for quite a bit, and I think, I mean, to be very honest with you, I think impact fees would be very, very useful in Littleton, especially when you start building more buildings down on the meadow.
Is that strictly a planning board function? I'm ignorant on that. So they can do that or not do it? It's not really for the select board.
And they did the CIP last year. Was it last year? Bruce, you had your hand up. Do you still have a comment?
Yeah, the state in turn has a lot of rules and regulations. If you were a developer, you can't divide or put things together. And I don't think the planning board knows, but you have to have, if it's over 15 lots that they're going to develop over that period of time, and even if it's done in sections, you have to have the state approval and a code number for it. Because the same identical thing if you were talking about it when you were getting towns in turn. Some towns in turn never had zoning. If you didn't have zoning in a town, you automatically ended up getting state zoning. It's compulsory that your state in turn, they have to comply with the state zoning pertaining to what it is on it. We also had one in here, I think it was, if you were changing apartments and bathrooms and stuff like that on it, there was a fee every time you change some of that stuff in here on it too. So I think that, frankly, I don't think the planning board ever realizes an awful lot of their stuff of what they should be doing. And I think, and it changes. Now, to give you an example, I ended up with a bunch of buildings that I own. Last year, the state came in and changed a whole bunch of rules and regulations on all the smoke detectors. It cost me $3,000 to upgrade them. And if you don't do it, you can get fined. And it's a requirement that you have to have a smoke detector outside of a bedroom, and one has to be inside of a bedroom. And one of the insurance companies recognized that I owned a lot of property, and they wrote me, and I ended up having to do that. And the other people in turn should have to be doing it too. But one of the biggest problems you have is they keep changing the rules. Okay?
Yeah.
Down in the state, they really keep changing these damn things around. It may be nice to do it, but boy, it's a burden on the operating of the people out of it that are renting and stuff like that.
That's totally true.
That's true.
I was at the state, we had the planning division in my department, and literally a book every year after legislative session of all the changes
Right.
that you have to, and it could be a year later, they change some of them back.
Yeah.
It's,
They still have approved that code book pertaining to it in the town of Littleton. It's been approved in writing now. It's that code book that they put out, and it's a requirement that they have to comply with the codes on it. A contractor does. So any contractor that signs up out of it, he better know what he's doing, or he's gonna be in trouble out of it.
Yeah, they do.
That's another whole issue, the way that's talking.
I know.
Because you've got, state requirements related to planning and zoning
Fire code.
that don't appear in the town.
Right.
Bits of that. So we end up, in some ways, either not enforcing or enforcing state.
I mean, Chief, you have some option in fire code as to which one. Not everyone jumps to the latest, greatest. So sometimes there's a lag. There may be a 27 fire code and you're working off the 24 or 25.
We're actually in that interim on the building code right now, which the legislature approved the latest version in the 6-month period where you have to know which one the building's using. So occasionally you run into issues. We've done a good job catching up on the fire code. We had been pretty far behind, yeah, sometimes you run into those issues.
And usually when a building is altered, it is subject to the revised code.
Yes.
So if it was a 50-year-old
Depending on
building,
the percentage.
and if it's revised, updated, I'm not sure what that threshold is,
Yeah.
that may kick in, okay, now you have to put in smoke detectors or carbon monoxide or whatever the other fire code is, because the code has changed over years substantially if it's a 50-year-old
And
building.
the key to it is if you don't do it, and suddenly you have a loss and somebody dies, you go to jail.
Well, your insurer will probably have a problem if you didn't meet the code in the first place. So that'd be the first place.
So, I just want to jump back into this. We did the commercial construction, of under 25 and over 25. Did we talk about the one about the additions, accessory structures, fences, and demolitions? Is that next? That kind of is coming
That's the
up
next one, yeah.
as well.
So that's being proposed to go from $25 to $50. And again, I guess citing the example of Tractor Supply, all that would be was someone submitting an application. We're just going to do administrative review, make sure it still meets zoning requirements, and primarily just use and setback, right? We don't have any regulations over parking and all that.
Right.
So it looks like a very small fee, but that's
Doesn't
the
take-
administrative involvement's pretty minor.
It's actually a huge loss, because usually there's setback issues and it requires an on-site review. Fencing, there's all kinds of non-compliant fencing in town, the regulations about fencing are very specific. So, yeah, it's one that is definitely often a loss, I feel like, for the town.
So do you think that, personally, do you think that number then is way too low? We only have it $50. Then what we're looking at.
I think overall, it works. Just, there's a lot of conflict that, some of these are pretty, like the commercial side might be a little bit more straightforward, bigger number. But every application, you know, somebody has to take it, get a process payment, you get, so all, that's the same whether it's a $1,000 check or a $50 check, I guess is the kind of point as well.
Yeah. Were some of these new figures, the proposed figures, compared with other towns as well? Like, or?
We looked at all kinds of factors.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fee before, it said alteration. Is there any concern that we've taken that out, and so someone says, well, I'm just altering, I'm not adding? All right, or is that just getting in the weeds here?
Oh.
See,
alteration-
I think we took it out because alteration.
renovation.
That could be a change
I
of
get
use.
concerned. Well, I get concerned that it's, if you're altering it, you're kind of like, are you taking out a window, a door, changing the door, the front door, moving it 6 feet? And I think that's why it wasn't clear to us. And we're like, no, we're really looking for, you're expanding the footprint by adding an addition onto it.
I think putting addition goes along better with the zoning ordinance and what describes what needs a permit.
So-
Alteration didn't really fit.
So the Harrington block work would not trigger this? Okay.
Unless they change the footprint of the building, which I.
So a new roof, that's not.
New
still have to-
roof, new plumbing.
Okay.
It's all about the footprint of the building. And I think for alteration, it combined two processes. The demolition permit has really specific stuff now about asbestos.
Right.
You know, there's maybe like paint concerns. So if you're altering, you know, if I'm indoors, I don't need to worry about that, but if I'm outside, I do. So the demolition permit, hey, you're changing the footprint, you're shrinking it, fill that out. If you're expanding it, it's on the addition side. If you're putting in an additional structure, it's an accessory structure usually.
Would it have to change the definition of building zoning permit if it was going to include interior alterations or roof changes? That's,
Yeah.
But the state in turn requires an alteration of terrain pertaining to it for anything, it's a culvert or anything
Well,
like
it's
that.
gotta be like 100,000 square
Yeah,
feet.
yeah,
That's a big problem.
That's completely different.
that's
Not
different.
reflected in zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
What's this, I mean, I know what 911 number is, so people pay when they want to get an address assignment to 911?
New.
That's new?
No, when you add a new address.
Oh, you added
Yeah.
the address, okay.
So if somebody builds a new home,
Oh,
they take a
gotcha.
1 unit, they split it into 4, they need new addresses, so we have to process all that.
Okay.
So that's being proposed to change from $15 to $25. The driveway permit is currently right now $15, and I had listed here 100. We had some additional conversation today about this, and Joanna, Eric, and myself would like to change our recommendation from 100 to 150. And the reason is, a driveway, as simple as it may sound, there's a lot actually that goes,
Sounds so
that's
simple.
involved. Because what you're doing is,
Yeah.
you're proposing to connect into our public road that's maintained publicly by taxpayers. And we need to get out there and make sure that you're using the right size culvert, that you're gonna be able to not interrupt our ditch, you know, our flow of water. There's safety concerns of site distance, making sure that's maintained. And, you know, we want to have a say and oversight in where you are connecting to our road. Sometimes it might make sense that where you want to connect, you know, just another 25 feet further up the road or down the road makes better sense for safety, integrity of the road. So the 150 that we're recommending, we kind of figure out, it probably represents about, you know, 2 hours of man time. Eric spending an hour administratively and someone doing a site visit.
Yep.
That's only curb cuts on town roads, correct?
It would just be
No.
connecting to a town road.
For any others, it's a DOT, and state DOT driveway permit.
It's on state roads.
Yeah.
On state
So,
roads, yeah.
all right, so it's
Just town roads.
Just town roads, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes it's not just a driveway per se, it's a subdevelopment. And we don't have any slope regulations for driveways either. So we can't rely on
It's a good thing, yeah.
regulations that a lot of communities have. So it is more labor intensive.
Okay.
Thank you.
Copy of the zoning ordinance would go from $36.50 to $50. A copy of the subdivision regulations would go from $10 to $25. The planning board hearing application fee would go from $50 to $100. A planning board newspaper notice fee. This is something we're trying, you know, currently it's current advertising rate, which makes it very difficult for the applicant because nobody knows what it's going to be. So we thought, why don't we just make it a flat fee? The applicant can pay for it and know it's paid. And on the most part, our fees run from $75 to $62. I mean, depending on the size of the ad.
Yeah.
So that's why you're seeing us change to an actual set determined amount. Zoning board adjustment application fee, $100, matching the planning board application fee, and the same for the zoning board of adjustment newspaper notice fee, $75. And there's one thing that we discussed today too that we realized we didn't add, and it's after the fact permit application. And so these are the people, primarily it's residential. It doesn't happen at commercial level, but they do come in. They'll do something and they'll come
Like
in
what?
after the fact, and then that causes a lot of problems. The chief has been involved in spending hours of time trying to figure out now how we undo what they did, which sometimes triggers a variance. And, you know, we've had an example recently where someone, were they 10 feet from the property line or built on the property line?
Built the whole house too close to the property line.
Poured the concrete, everything.
That was all built, yeah. All was finished.
Oh, boy.
So we,
Site plan review would be a great.
I know.
so we'd like to actually just add a category for after the fact permit application and have actually just say double the fee,
Which
or
is,
double the cost.
okay.
So if you're residential construction, $200, you go and do your work and you get caught, you after the fact come in, instead of paying $200, you're gonna pay $400.
So it's almost like a,
Incentive to go get your permit.
But I'm telling you right now, usually
First time.
right.
99% of the time, there's gonna be a lot more administrative work involved in an after the fact permit than upfront.
Is that covered to just
So I
double
think
it?
the punishment should be larger.
That's what I'm wondering.
Well, in the case of the house, if you built in a setback area, they could be denied and forced to tear it down.
Correct.
Yeah,
Right, and people will come in often
could be.
and say, oops. And if I think the general standard in it is that they can say it was an accident, it wasn't intentional, my
An
surveyor
equitable
made a
waiver,
mistake,
yeah.
or, but you see a lot of that, like, the stake got
And if it's
knocked
not-
over during the winter, this kind of stuff. This
We
is-
get a lot of
yeah.
garages and sheds that are after the fact, and so you miss those when it comes to assessing the property too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And usually we find out about it on complaint, so there's already conflict.
Yeah, the neighbor.
There's no control, nobody's out there looking, like, you know, a neighbor calls, hey, this garage just got built, and there's conflict. And so now we have to enforce the ordinance, because it is in the setback, and it's not fair, you know, to the neighboring resident, so.
Okay. So those were
So it's
the
administrative.
zoning, and then we have to go to the
Can I
housekeeping
just ask a
too.
few
Oh, yeah,
questions
go for
on
it.
that? So on these, do you have any sense, Troy, when did we last set all of these rates? Because they are.
I know, you know, Joanna?
It was well over 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
10
for a
years.
long time.
Wow.
Because when I first started, almost 20 years ago, the building permit was $15. It's only, you know, for the accessory structures, and it's only gone up to 25 since then.
That's right.
We didn't keep it well.
It's a bargain.
Yeah. It's
So,
nice to keep
do
it
you
low
have-
but not too low.
Any sense like how much we're making off of these fees right now? Like, is there a category that you can call on that says this?
I don't have that number, but yeah, we do track these categories.
Because, I mean, I'm asking these questions because I think on their face, some of these increases certainly make sense, but I think we need to do a better job at explaining why they're necessary. And I think 10 years, the fact that you're probably making a small amount of money in terms of revenue off of this versus a fairly well-defined set of expenditures that have to take place in order to make these, the town get closer to being compensated for the work that it's doing for all residents, right? So when this comes forward, I think we need to be able to talk more about the dollar cost to the town.
For the public hearing.
Yes, as a reason why these are being considered, because on their face, I mean, you're talking doubling a lot of rates, and I know you go from $15 to $30, it's still not gonna break anybody's bank, but it just has a feeling, particularly in today's environment, that, you know, that we need to be cognizant of as we talk about this.
Yeah, I think an explanation of it would be.
And I'm sorry, Chief, just Carrie brought up the comparison to other communities. I think that's another one that we should, as we again get towards trying to justify some of these increases publicly, or more publicly than this, but talk about how those fees compare to other towns similar, not Lebanon or Hanover. But other towns around us particularly, because, you know, when you talk about commercial development particularly, there is some competition for investment, and we want to make sure that we remain competitive in that environment and not too far afield from everybody else. So I think those are just some things that I'd like to make sure that when we get to the next step, that those are a little bit easier defined for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, when I did that last, it was about 4 years ago, 4 or 5, maybe a little longer. I made sure I found towns that didn't have a building inspector. So that made a big difference.
Oh,
When I was
true.
looking at some of them.
Yeah.
So our proposed revenue in the 25 budget is $5,000 for building permits. So we're not talking,
It's not a lot of money.
So it wouldn't be hard to do 5 more minutes of like how many permits did you issue and who was sort of roughly involved with that. It's going to be more than $5,000. But I think that needs to be explained to people so that it doesn't just come across as being, you know, you just double fees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can,
And also the time span since it was last done, I think important for sure, which we just said publicly, but when something hasn't been updated in 10 years, guess what? Everything's gone up in 10 years, you know, so. And it does seem like a shocker because I think we've been visiting since Troy came on as town manager. Not a shocker, but these things have not been looked at for a while and we're going through all of them. So it's sticker shock, but as long as we can say, hey, Bethel and Whitefield, we're right in line with this town or that town and this is still reasonable and covers our costs. And we're not,
Well, as close to it as you can get. I don't
Close
think
as
you'll
you
ever
can.
fully cover.
Yeah.
yeah, you looked up well. And it's a good help once you have your, you know, when we get through with this process, having your master fee schedule and being committed to reviewing it once every 3 years.
Yeah.
This is 10 years and 15 is just too long. It doesn't stay fresh. And it goes both ways. When you look at it again 3 years from now, you say, yeah, this is way too much, or this one's under, and this one's, so
Yeah.
it's good.
I'm sorry to
Yeah, go ahead.
but I think that's an important point, actually. And as part of this, maybe what we should do is try to keep records, an accounting of what was roughly spent in a given year in permits and what the town's revenue was for those permits, so that we can keep an alignment as close as we can. Like I said, I don't think we should expect to get 100% ever, but being able to align an actual expenditure with the amount of fee revenue that was made, and try to keep it in a zone, might be helpful to future select boards in reviewing these on a more regular basis.
Yeah, I think we can do a few surveys, and we can also try to calculate the staff hourly rate and the estimated hours to process, show you what we think the cost
I
is.
think you need to
and
kill
that's a
yourself
good
over
point.
it, but I think having some sort of association
Yeah.
between cost and fee.
Yeah. You can do that.
I think the last one is the Opera House fees, as part of this. If we want to go through those too.
So, worked with Riley on this. We're trying to streamline it a little bit. We had categories, nonprofit, then just a regular rate, and for-profit. So, we want to get down to eliminate the for-profit column, and we have two categories, nonprofit and standard rate. So if you're a nonprofit organization, this is your rate. And the standard rate would be for any other, whether you're a private business or you're a resident or non-resident, this is the rate that you'd pay. And this is an area where we really are trying to increase some revenues and be realistic with what we believe the going market rate is for using this kind of space. Keeping in mind, that, as Taylor just said, the staff that's involved in taking the application, reviewing it, scheduling it, communication back and forth to that person using the facility, inspecting it after they leave, heating the building, maintaining the building, and cleaning the building. So, even with all that thought process, we think these fees, they look kind of aggressive, but when you start to factor in the fact that you've got a building there and you're maintaining it 12 months out of the year, heat, electricity, water, all that.
And Riley said there's a lot of demand for that building. She has to turn people away. All right, so that's a good sign that it's valued and it needs maintenance. So there's a lot of people that want to use it, rightly so. So it's charge a little more of a market rate, I guess.
So we got two rooms that we rent, the Grand Hall and the Tower Room. So for the Grand Hall, we're using it 2 hours or less, no change. Nonprofit would pay $150 and the standard rate would be $250. So if you're gonna have a birthday party there and you're gonna be in there for 2 hours or less, you pay $250. And this is the Grand Hall. For 2 to 4 hours, basically half day, right? The nonprofit would go from $225 to $300, and the standard rates from $375 to $500. So you're renting that hall for 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours, $500 fee for the standard rate. The Grand Hall, greater than 4 hours, which is basically all day.
Like a wedding or something.
Yeah, you've got some kind of private event that's going to be all day. The nonprofit would be $600 and the standard rate would be $1,000. So we'd be doubling the fee basically for both. The nonprofit would go from $300 to $600, standard rate $500 to $1,000. The Tower Room is the room upstairs. It's a smaller room. That's more of a nice, smaller meeting space, small birthday party type thing.
I said 40 people in there
Yeah,
comfortably,
so
something
it's
like that.
it's really nice
40,
room.
50?
Just loud with the road traffic at certain times, but, so for 2 hours or less, nonprofit could rent the room for we would change from $40 to $50. And the standard rate would change from $50 to $100. Tower room for 2 to 4 hours would go from $65 to $100 for the nonprofit, and $75 to $200 for the standard rate. And the tower room all day, 4 hours and greater for the nonprofits would go from $80 to $300, and $100 to $600 for the standard rate. So we tried to, as you can see, we tried to, double the price, just try to make them match a little bit the best we could. And
Couple of questions. Is this for any day of the week, so there's no difference between weekends and weekdays? So most people probably are using it for weekends if they're using it for a full day.
yeah,
And
so as it's presented, it's just any day of the week.
Any day of the week. And do you know, I don't see Riley, but maybe you know, or someone here, how often are we renting out the tower room now, or the grand hall? I know Theater Up's in it a lot, so I don't know if we rent out the tower room much right now, or?
I
don't know.
I think with Taylor's question, we can have that information.
It'd be interesting to know, and,
Have the revenue sources, the number of,
yeah.
we would know that. So,
Yeah.
and I know Riley has that data.
So one thing to think about, I think, with regard to this, and Carrie, you touched on it. This is, what the fees here are that you've got reflect a guess to the cost to the town of the staffing and the cleaning and all that sort of thing. It's a fairly competitive space. You've got rocks, you've got ours, you can do the annex.
Soon to be annexed, this place.
Come online at some point. And so I would urge you to think about a more use-based fee system. So maybe a little bit more where it's more competitive, and a little bit less where it's not as competitive. So Tuesday afternoon for 2 hours in the Grand Hall, probably nobody's using it, right? So that would be cheap. You would be able to potentially get somebody who wanted to do something Friday to do it on a Tuesday to save a little money. Now you've filled it on Tuesday. Friday's already competitive, you'll maybe fill both.
So I'm thinking weekend,
Yeah.
maybe more.
So
Good idea.
I would urge you to think a little bit about that, price according to when you see the usage categories.
Particularly like June time of year, which
I
is
can picture weddings, like if you're gonna rent that Grand Hall, it's a gorgeous space. I mean, we've all been in there, it's gorgeous. If you rented that for a wedding on a Saturday all day, yeah, that rate makes sense, but I know what you're
But
saying.
it should be
like
a different rate if it's like on a Tuesday.
Yeah, maybe we're making it
it might be
complicated.
more for a weekend in June or July, right? The
Like
the
weddings.
height of the market where everything's booked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
That's a new idea.
I know when we had the Opera House Committee, we toured, I know I actually toured the Berry Opera House.
there's one in Lebanon too.
And the one in Lebanon, and there was another one.
You have an idea?
But that might not be a bad idea to check what their fees are and if they have a scale as far as the week is concerned. Because I think, if I'm remembering correctly, there was one that a little bit of data we got, Thursday, Friday, Saturday was a different fee from Sunday through Wednesday, I believe. It may have.
That's pretty common in those,
I mean,
right?
this is a lot
Or
of
day
years
or
ago.
evening
but-
even too, right? There may
Yeah.
be people who use it during the day for meetings at
Right.
a nominal cost
Right,
and free it up for the evening.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if the goal is to really sort of use this asset as a way to generate
Yeah.
some revenue, I think you want to try to get it full as often as you can. And the way you do that is one of the ways you could do that is
Well,
just
this-
adjusting the pricing.
Yeah.
One other comment, Troy, that maybe you discussed with Riley is storage cost. I know that there's stuff stored there, and I don't know if the fees are ad hoc or negotiated or whatever. So,
You mean by the Arts Commission, the Historical Commission?
I think theater off storage stuff is there, so even when they're not using it, they are using
The space?
portions of that building as storage, and there should be, I think there is a fee for it, but it's not reflected here yet. And I'm not sure if it'd be easy to do that, right? You could have a little cubby, or you could have a whole,
Or like a locked area,
Yeah.
like,
right. But there should be, there might be something in there. It depends on what Riley wants to do on it.
Yeah, and that's a category of long-term use.
Oh, that's what that means, I guess.
Okay.
And they put to be determined, because I think it's, Theater Up is in there right now, and that's considered long-term use, so they're not leasing the property, but they have access and use, exclusive use to the property, so it's more of a use agreement. And I really think that there's no way I can put a price on that. It's got to be determined on a case-by-case basis.
Do we have like MOU with them? We must at some point. We did one.
You know, the written agreement. But I do like, I think we could work on this. This is a beautiful facility. It's got an elevator. It's got modern bathroom facilities.
ADA.
And it's got video, audio, and those types of spaces are in demand. And we're not capitalizing, making the money that we should be.
And it comes up
I
every
think breaking
budget
it up into
season,
the
too.
peak hours and stuff, I'll go back and work with Riley. The other thing that came up, I mean, I kind of question, I know it's a town building, but if you think of it as it was a business, you would just have a rate. I mean, the rate is the rate, should we be giving a discount? We're trying to just capture our cost and make some money. And not sure, I just up for discussion, do you want to keep the category nonprofit standard rate, or do we want to have just a rate?
I don't know. The other
Whether you're
places have a
because you think about nonprofit, they're going to get a different rate to use it on a Saturday night.
Sure.
It's just, the rate is the rate, and, and we should just have one category.
Well, I think that to Taylor's point, having the different rates for the different days of the week,
Oh, I do.
to have people actually in there 7 days a week, as opposed to just the weekends.
Maybe you don't have a nonprofit.
Because the hour, like you say, Tuesday at 2:00, that's probably a lot of your nonprofits, they're gonna meet then. It's gonna be a very
For a meeting,
modest
Yeah.
fee.
yeah.
But 6:00 on a Thursday night,
6 to 10
all your
or
business,
something.
6 to
Like,
10.
what if you have
It's a different fee.
You have a wedding that wants to come in and use it on a Saturday, and you've got a nonprofit fundraiser.
Paying 200 and you got right.
Yeah,
It's whoever comes in first.
That's happening now in some cases. We're not talking from Riley.
Yeah.
She's turning people away now that would pay more.
Yeah.
So the idea is to try and capture some.
You can adjust all of that and try to, but I would really say have it correlate with where the.
Yeah, we
the
can
most
tweak it, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
She'll know when the times
Yeah.
of high demand are.
Sure.
I mean, I know when the times of high demand are here.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And do you have a different?
No, but we
You
probably
probably
should, yeah.
Just take one of those
But-
spreadsheets and pop it in ChatGPT, man.
They'll write it for you, yeah. You can also look, you have to reinvent the
3 seconds,
wheel.
boom.
You can see what Lebanon Opera House, some of these
Yeah.
other opera
Very,
houses
yeah.
and stuff are.
Yeah, no, we'll do some work on
But
this.
weekday mornings are slow.
yeah.
Yes.
Right.
All right, great. So this was the first run through of these, so I think we can keep talking about them and think about them.
I think, I wanted to schedule this for a public hearing, but I think there's a lot of, we've got work to do on the opera house.
Yeah.
So I'd rather come back to this board, make sure we're on the same page. You can think about this, we'll come up with more methodology and data.
Are you going to go through PD and fire department, all those in
We did.
one comprehensive one, or
No, I'm not gonna touch
this
fire.
year's revision?
So what I wanted to do is the topics that we just discussed tonight, we'll go back, work on them again, and present at your next meeting. Hopefully we'll have it in final draft now.
And that would be a
And then we'll have our public hearing in July.
Yeah.
In July, I'll start working on my first draft attempt at police. So in our meeting in August, we'll have a workshop in August on police. I call it police fees, just the parking.
Is the goal to get these done in
I want to get it done
2026?
before we start our budget.
Before we start budget, okay. All right, so we got a
Because
few
we want
months.
them, we want them all, when we put together our revenue
Part of the
estimates
revenue estimate.
for 27 budget, I want to have our fees all.
All right,
Thank you.
You have a quick, we're finished with this? You have a quick comment, Bruce?
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe that that building was approved for the historical thing, and you can't change anything in it, or do anything, and it may be on the basis of cost too, so you should check that out with the state.
Oh yeah, we'll check that too. Thank you. All right, so next we have agenda policy and procedures amendments. This is, I think, the final time we're gonna visit the agenda policy, hopefully.
Oh, gender policy.
Troy likes his policies, doesn't he?
Yes.
Well,
They had not been
It's
visited.
good.
They
It's
have
good.
not
It's
been
good. Somebody's gotta be
revisited
disciplined.
or revised for years.
He's a process guy.
Yeah, but we also kind of tasked him with that when he first
Yes.
came in. We're like, how do we go through policies and fee structures? Because I'd heard from a lot of constituents too, that they were like, maybe our parking rates are too low. Maybe we need to help the tax burden a little bit by increasing fees for some things.
So I've been working with the board for the last year and a half on it's known, everyone calls it the agenda policy. And we've made several changes to it. There was something that prompted a review of the policy because I was trying to figure out how we're going to handle a request to be placed on the agenda. And I discovered one thing that I was not aware was in the policy. But the first proposal that I'm making this evening for the board to consider is adding the word, the policy, meeting. So actually formally naming this policy, agenda policy and meeting procedures. Currently right now it's agenda policy and procedures. What's the procedure, just really providing some clarification that this is the agenda policy and then the meeting procedures that we follow during the meeting and align with the agenda. So that would be one of the changes. And then on page 3 is the area that I discovered that I just didn't catch the last time we updated this policy. So in section F, it notes that under appointments or new business, when a matter is being presented that the board expects to take a vote on, that item and only that item will be open for public input before a vote is taken. The chairperson and presiding officer shall have the discretion to limit the time allowed for each speaker, the total number of speakers, and the total time allowed for the item. The chairperson and presiding officer must be sure to consistently apply the same rules to all speakers. Two things wrong with this paragraph, or I don't know if it's wrong, but I just want to point out as far as the way we operate. We changed this policy and did away with this section called appointments. So there was in the agenda up at the top, we would have call to order, moment of silence, pledge of allegiance, and then the next item after, I don't know, approving minutes was at the bottom, I think.
Yeah,
It was.
It was like, yeah,
And the next item was appointments. Well, appointments were, people had scheduled time to come in and they had an appointment.
And I always thought it was appointing people too.
And I
was very confused.
always thought it was appointments too, because people want to be appointed and they come in, they say, hey, I'd like to be reappointed, whatever. And I thought but it was actual scheduled meeting time with this board. We changed the agenda format that we have a section, they just call it business now. It's not new business, old business, it's not appointment, it's just business. And then working with the chair, we sort of try to align the way we want the meeting to flow based on, what we think public interest and everything is. And we try to get department heads in to speak first so they can go home if they want. But anyway, under appointments for new business, right now the policy is if you're going to take a vote on one of those subject matters, then your policy right now is that you would allow discussion. And that's not our practice. We have, at our discretion, we allow comments throughout our meeting. So that's my proposal, is that we really try to capture what our current practice is. So eliminating that paragraph and simply stating, when an agenda item is scheduled under business, public input shall not be required prior to the board taking action unless otherwise required by law. So that would be a law saying you need a public hearing or whatever. However, public input may be permitted at the discretion of the chairperson or upon approval of a majority of the select board members. So if someone asks to speak before you take a vote, the chair says no, a majority of this board can override the chair's decision. So at any time, anybody can always ask to speak. And first person that's going to address that request is going to be the chair. If it's denied, the board has the option to override it and allow the person to speak. And then, if public input is authorized, comments shall be limited to the agenda item under consideration. The chairperson, presiding officer shall have the authority to establish reasonable rules governing public participation, including but not limited to limiting the time allotted to each speaker, the total number of speakers, and the overall duration of the public comment on the item. The chairperson and presiding officer must be sure to consistently apply the same rules to all speakers. So rules of engagement is, okay, we're gonna take public comment on this item before we vote on it, and the chairperson will say, we'll take, comments, can you limit your comments to 3 minutes? And try to get through all the comments, and if people start to get off the subject matter, the chair's got the authority to bring it back. I think that is really the practice that we have. Just a reminder to the board that this is your meeting and you're here to discuss issues, business, and take action, vote on things that people have voted you in office to do. And in addition to that, doing your work as select board members, you have also allotted 20 minutes of public comment for the public to come in, anyone from the public to come in and speak to you for 3 minutes. And if everyone else has spoken, that same person can speak for another 3 minutes. You have 20 minutes allotted on time on your agenda for public comment, which is good because it's hit or miss. Every different town has different policies. We're very clear saying we dedicate a portion of our business meeting, 20 minutes of it, for public comment.
And that can be extended too. I mean, that's the thing, I think can be extended.
And it can be
with
extended.
Chair and vote of the board.
And with this, if this change is approved, so in addition to that, that before we take a vote on a matter, if someone requests to be able to speak, that can be taken under, it can be granted, but it's not to be assumed, or it's allowed.
So, can I?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, go ahead.
So what we just did, right, just a minute ago.
I know, we did that, yeah.
So I guess I don't have necessarily a problem with trying to define a process, but this seems to me to be really wordy and almost inclined against any public input. And I think it's important to be able to get public input throughout this meeting. And it's at the discretion of the chair to decide how that's going to manifest itself. My opinion, but I don't like the sort of feel of this language that you're limiting public participation in our process. So I would urge that we make this reflect kind of the reality of, at least what I've seen in my very short time here, which is if someone wants to say something, or if it's something that we haven't had a public hearing on before, I would like to be able to have the chair retain the ability to adapt to that situation as she or he might feel is appropriate for the thing, for the circumstances, rather than be quite so boxed in as this language sort of, at least gives me the feeling of.
And to add on to what Taylor was saying, I think the statement that has to stay in there is comments shall be limited to the agenda item under consideration only.
Yeah.
Because in times past,
Yeah, it goes off on a tangent.
people will go off on, they'll go down rabbit holes, and it's totally not what we're talking about, not what we're trying to decide.
It's also, every agenda item is not a group discussion,
Correct.
right? We will never get through business.
I mean, I think that's what it
But I
protects,
think
is to be like,
ultimately
this
it's-
is something.
It's the discretion of the chair, and it depends on the flow of the meeting at times.
And I-
Right? It's a subjective.
I mean, it's definitely not an easy task. You know, I've been on the board now, it's my 3rd year, and it is tricky to be chair. I watched you do it, and Roger. But I will say straight out, and I know everybody agrees, I'm way into hearing from the public, and I want public comments. One of my favorite times. I like hearing from people. I want people to email me, call me. I talk to Bruce on the phone, give me a call. I like the public. I like that we have a room full of people. So I never want that taken away. I have 2 friends that are select board members in COAS. They don't even allow public comment at all. I think it's nuts, but they were surprised that we even allow it. I think this gives it some parameter if we have a long meeting and we've already opened it up to public hearing, we've heard from people, and we need to get some business done. It allows for me or whoever's chair or the board to be like, you know what, can you save that? Just, you know, if it's not a big topic and we have to get through. Am I gonna use it all the time? No, I wanna hear from people. I mean, that's my feeling, and I think I've worked in that way. But it has been, we've had a lot of aggressive and hard people sometimes, just to be honest. And so I wanna be able sometimes to be able to shut it down and be like, we need to regroup here, and, you know, and kinda, without being mean, you know, but I wanna be able to have some control. But I totally agree. The feeling I want people to understand is that we want the public to be involved. And I plan to always do that whenever I can, unless I feel like it's too much or someone's going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, so I just think, you know, if, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, you know, unless you find that, I don't think it's gonna take away a lot of time off the agenda, but we consistently, under business, before we take a vote, we have our introduction, the board has its discussion, and then the chair needs to consistently, every time, say, okay, before we vote on this matter, you say, any members of the public wish to comment. We listen to that, we say, okay,
Let's
it's
vote.
time for the board to vote. And so just need to make that clear, you know. I think the way the original language is, and could be cleared up a little bit better, but if that's what the board wants to do consistently going forward, then, you know,
I think there should be discretion by the chair on that.
The thing we said is the thing about making required is every vote, and I know people are meant it as a joke, but what if we try to adjourn and that's a vote, and someone's like,
Well-
you know what I mean? Or if it's something like, could it be used
So-
nefariously?
So I
Someone-
thought of that, I'm like, well, that my first reaction is, well, that means you need to take a vote or get public comment before approving minutes. That's not a business.
Oh,
Adjournment is
you're
under
right, it's
manager's
only under
report,
business.
select
You're
board's
right.
report. So it will
Okay.
be the
Just
items
under business.
under business
Yeah,
that you
If it's a vote, we allow public comment.
yeah.
vote, and you're gonna vote on it.
Yep.
At the, you know, that's where, you know, is it at the discretion of the chair, or you go back to kind of what the language is right now, which we.
I'd like to leave it with some discretion, because it depends. If you have 20 minutes discussion on each vote, you could be here for 5 hours. There's going to be times when the board has got a long agenda or a lot to go through. It's just not going to be possible. We get into budgets for everyone to talk on every issue before every vote.
That's what kind of-
It's not going to be possible.
One thing I've done, and I don't know if it feels fair to people, but if I just see one hand up, I've been like, do you mind holding that to public comment? Like if it was a full room and I knew there were a bunch of people here wanting to talk about one thing, like we did 2-3 years ago with the murals, that was a 3-hour meeting,
Well, the camping
so
policy-
everybody can have
The camping policy went on for
Yeah, went on
a long
forever.
time, and it was a freewheeling,
Yeah.
sometimes heated discussion, but
Yeah.
that was a room full of people that had opinions.
Like if there's, I wouldn't want to, people were at the door and wanted to talk about something, I don't think I'd be the chair, I'd be like, sorry, we're not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
Because, but I feel like sometimes if it's something that seems cut and dry and somebody wants just to add in, sometimes that I think like be superfluous, then I'm just gonna be like, can you hold off to the public comment? But maybe I don't need to do that too.
So at the risk of sending it back again, sounds like
No.
you want it cut and dried, like it will always be done this way. And
This leaves it to be
and I think
mostly
it should be
discretion.
more of discretion of the board. Ultimately, the board
Yeah, it's not
decides.
just the chair, because I could say something and you're all like,
Terry
"Oh,
could
let's
say,
meet."
no, we could say, wait a minute, there's just a few of us, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends on the flow of the meeting, the agenda, how late it is, all those things.
Mostly we're going to acquire public comment. But like when Lori spoke, she was just presenting, and there have been times in the past where people, like one of our presenters who I feel like have been disrespected, we've all seen it, and it's not even something up for a vote. Everybody's very respectful of Lori, but there's been times where a million hands go up and people want to start complaining about their water and light bill or something, and I'm just like, this
That's a
isn't the
time
right.
where you need to-
They would never do that, Lori, ever.
You're in the wrong meeting.
You've all seen it, right? When the woman came
Yes.
to speak, presented about the casino. She was here to make a presentation, and what she got was yelled at by people. And that would have been a time I could have said, we don't need comments, someone's here to present. You can feel a certain way, but it's not like your soapbox, right? And we weren't voting. So it's like, I just want to be able to sometimes have that ability to be like, someone's here just to present. You can go and think about it, and guess what? You can write us and call us, but maybe not every single time someone's presenting. We need to open up to a million things.
And I would just reiterate both you and Ed, and that if there was something that was going to be on the agenda that we knew or showed up, a lot of people are here,
Yeah.
want to be able to talk, under a rule that allows the board to work with, support at the discretion of the chair of the board on how to structure the evening for that particular evening. So,
Yes.
you know,
Could move the item up front so people don't
you
wait
could just say,
2
look,
hours to get this.
I know there's like 100 people here to talk, we don't have all night, but maybe there's some ways that we can
Expedite or.
expedite or whatever, come up with some reasonable plan for that particular evening.
I think we
And that gives
could. We
the
could say
discretion.
20 minutes. We're going to give 20 minutes to this. We see a lot of people are here or whatever. And then
You
we're-
also have the discretion, if you have a specific item, a specific topic that you know is going to have a lot of people wanting to come in, you can create a work session for just that topic.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to include it in a regular board meeting.
Yep.
So you'll have that time that everybody will be able to speak in peace.
Yep.
And you can hear it all, and then if you need to make a vote, you can either make a vote at that work session, or you can say, okay, we've heard public comment, we want to review everything that we've heard, we want to reread this at our next scheduled board meeting, that is when we will vote, and at that time, you don't have to take public comment because you had your work session, or you had your public meeting, public hearing on it.
Or you could put specific items under public comment in the agenda as we have it. So you could say, you know,
Oh, yeah, we've never done
X,
that.
Y, Z,
Yeah.
a particular issue that we want to hear from people on.
Yeah.
You know, you put it
That we know
there.
people are
Yeah.
showing up for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there's some ways to manipulate the agenda to kind of get what we want
Yeah.
in terms of public input and transparency, and keep the meetings flowing based on having a little bit of
Bet
discussion.
you're glad you brought this one back, huh?
Well, you know what my point is here.
Your point's taken though, it's
I
not
don't want the
clear.
board to get called out on it.
Right.
And someone does this to you and says, I'm actually, your own policy says I'm allowed to speak.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
There's no safe.
that scenario could have happened tonight.
yeah.
Right.
I don't think you want to tie the hands of the chair or the board to adjust based on the realities of the meeting and the agenda and the need to do business.
And that all being said, with being this, seat to the chair right now, even though I'm supposed to run the meetings, I would welcome anybody speaking up and being like, you know what, we need to hear more from these people. So I'm not offended by it at all or anything. So straighten me out if you're like, you know what, we really should. There's 5 people with their hands up and this is important.
Yeah.
I still got one.
Okay, 1 second. Are we good with that?
So we need to work on more, that's the bottom line here.
Well,
The language here seems to say, we will always do it this way. And I don't think we want to do, I don't.
You mean at the way F's written now?
Yeah, it seems to be, the idea is to codify, to say, at least what you said verbally is, if you're going to do it that way, you have to do it that way on every single issue every time. And I think that puts us in a box and does not allow the chair and the board to flow the meeting to reflect who's here. If 100 people are here
Yeah,
angry
but-
about an issue, to say, we need to talk about that, or to just do business.
Yeah, but I think to your point, to clarify that, it says, however, public input may be permitted at the discretion of the chairperson or upon approval of the board. I think that gives the ability to
Yeah.
either open it up or shut it down.
And if you have a chair who never wants to hear from people, everybody can override it.
Right.
Because you don't want one chair
And I
making
think
the
that
decision.
covers what your
Yeah.
concern is.
That's,
Yeah.
I think it,
Yeah, but
What I tried to write was, it's clearly set the expectation that under business, the public is not entitled to speak. However, at the discretion of the chair, someone's sitting there raising their hand, saying,
Yeah.
yes,
Right,
Mr. Brown,
right. But,
that's allowed. But the chair goes and says, no, we're not gonna allow you, Mr. Brown.
Then you could say, allow him.
And
then the rest of the board.
Ed says, well, hold on.
Yeah,
I want to hear what Mr. Brown has to say before I vote on this.
Yep.
And so I make a motion to allow Mr. Brown to speak and get the support of the board.
yeah,
I don't think, in this town, we're going to be very casual.
yeah.
And 99% of the time, the chair is going to say, okay, Mr. Hadlock, you got your hand up, what do you have to say?
People
That's what's
have
going to happen.
abused that.
I haven't
There are
seen,
times when
I've not
people-
seen that not happen in
Yes,
this
it has
town.
been abused.
It has been abused.
But I think
And make
Carrie-
personal attacks on people, and that's where you have to be like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're straight out of bounds.
And Carrie's very good at shutting people down if they go off topic.
Carrie's good at shutting people down.
She learned a lot.
Sorry.
Not
But I also
exactly
am
a ringing
good at
endorsement thing.
letting people open up, so.
Yeah, I mean, she,
I want to hear from people.
yeah.
That's what we want to do with this.
Well, she does.
We want to okay it, we want to kick it back. Troy, let's do
Yeah.
version 23.
I'm kind of ready for it to.
I think the way I wrote it, I know it's worded.
It is worded,
Read it.
But I think
Read
it
it one more
does.
time.
I think it'd be nice to
Accomplish
say,
what
it
you
is the
need.
policy of the town to encourage and support public comment as a general rule. It'd be nice to just have a positive
Oh,
statement.
maybe it starts with that.
And not
It's
something that
just-
says,
yeah.
you can't do it here, you can't do it here. It start with, our policy is, when all possible is
We
allowed.
encourage public comment. However,
However,
Yeah,
how about that?
yeah.
However, it may not, yeah. Paul's like,
Because you're right, you can read it and it sounds like, these are
Like
all
sounds too
all the
negative.
stop signs.
Yeah.
And let's start with
right.
the
if
go
you start with the,
sign.
if you
right?
started with the positive and ended with the positive, you'll be in good shape.
One more time.
Let me bring it back to that.
oh my goodness. All right, so we're good with that. Bruce, you got something to?
Yeah, well, that
Okay.
happened to me today.
It sure did.
And you were talking about millions of dollars, and I in turn wanted to speak to you people about it on how you'd save a hell of a lot.
How we
You did
saved a
not-
lot?
A lot of money.
I know, we saved a lot
You
of money.
didn't save a lot of money. What I'm telling you is the Water and Light Department in turn ended up with a lawsuit. That's how they are so financially sound. And it affects all of you people in here because of the fact that the lawsuit that they won a long time ago keeps the rates down for the people in this community.
Right.
That was number one. The other part of it is the sewer plant down here on thing on it. I don't think it is done very well, and I understand that the town manager doesn't do it, and what's his name says he doesn't have it.
This is when you're
But
segueing.
the fact is,
Yeah.
they don't understand what that river is done. That river in turn is a Class B river.
I'm going to stop you for a second, because just like you gave me the example of what I did too, now you're doing the example of going completely off topic off of what we're talking about. Right now it's agenda policy and procedures amendments. I don't mean to be a bull about it, but I'm just saying you got mad at me for doing one thing, and you're also showing an example of not staying on topic. I love what you have to say, I just really prefer if you kind of stay on
I'll tell
topic.
everybody on how piss poor you guys are operating out as far as
Well,
money is concerned.
Thank you for the support.
Yeah.
All right, all right, so the last one is appointments of select board representatives for pilot negotiations. I don't think
So,
that's for.
this, as you see, I think we all know that we have one of our largest pilot agreements expired last year, and we need to start working this year on sitting down with Littleton Regional Hospital and discuss the next future pilot. And I've had the tax collector is, I list her as a potential person to be part of the process.
There's no reason why you should.
If not formally, on the side, as we consult with them. The fire chief, the deputy police chief, our police chief has a conflict of interest. And the representative from Sanssouci Associates, that's our commercial assessor, and 2 members of the select board. So that would be our team. We would go out and initiate some discussions with Littleton Regional Hospital. And in addition to that, just maybe it's a good time that we have this team together. We take a look at all the pilots that we do have and just make sure we are all in agreement with how they're written and just make sure we're all in.
Please. All right, so we are tasked with talking about voting to approve reps from the select board. I have a question for you, Troy. Is it, I know it's the hospital pilot is one of them, but there's others. Do you want the same 2 members to follow through with all of them?
Yeah, I think,
Makes more
I
sense,
think
I suppose.
the primary workload here is really the Littleton Regional Hospital. I think it's important that this whole group just takes a look at what we have in place so we understand that as we're trying to talk to the Littleton Regional Hospital.
Okay. Well, I think, Ed, you said you might be interested in doing this, correct?
I'd be happy to be part of that.
And you have to recuse, right? Okay. And I did talk to Paul, and I'd be happy to do it. Did I talk to you about this? And you were like, no, thank you. So I think you've got Ed, which is fine. Ed and Carrie, I think you have. But of course, do you want to vote for this? Yes, you want to vote to approve. We will be the 2 reps on
Okay,
that.
you can volunteer.
But we also need to vote and
Do you want the
approve.
motion?
I think
All
so.
right, I'll make a motion to vote to approve the 2 representatives, which would be Ed and Carrie at this current time, and no more 2 members of the select board, and the list that the town manager has put together.
Thank you, Linda. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second it.
All right, Paul got the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Did you aye, Taylor?
I did.
All right,
sorry.
5-0. That's okay. You got your quiet eyes over there. All right. So we are moving away from, we finished business. And now we are on town manager reports.
All right, well, you're lucky because I think I printed my report out and left it on the printer.
Oh, hey, next time you can send us an email.
I spent some time on that report today too, so
Bummer.
just a couple highlights I wanted to mention off the top of my head. One, as you all know, we had our first Friday event last Friday. Beautiful weather, well attended.
Beautiful weather.
Just really got some fantastic positive feedback on that event. So kudos to Riley for doing all that work and her team that coordinates it. Some personnel issues, I want you to be aware, we've been very fortunately, we've been lucky over the last 6, 8, 12 months, not have really starting to see some stability in our workforce. Recently, we now have a vacancy in our wastewater treatment coordinator. We just have a vacancy in a full-time transfer station attendant. We've had a vacancy in the fire department, a vacancy in the police department. We have one of our highway folks that are out on a work injury for a good portion of the summer. And we're still trying to recruit someone to administrative assistant to assist Riley with, we took the Opera House manager position, which was a full-time position, and reduced that to part-time, and going to integrate it into the rec department for administrative assistant, the primary focus being on the Opera House rental and overseeing and managing that. So we're advertising for that, but that's been vacant for some time. So I just wanted the board to be aware that we're all departments are starting to see that staffing issue again. Cottage Street construction going a little slow, it appears, but I can, it seems to be right on schedule from what I'm hearing from reports. Just a lot of work underneath the ground that they're doing. And that's just unfortunate. So it doesn't look like, it's not very exciting right yet. I'm sure it will get, you'll start seeing some good work.
It's exciting enough.
It's exciting.
They started,
Last year, the shovel was supposed to be the ground, so it's
Yeah.
exciting that
they
the
started working
excavator is
on it.
there.
At least we're there.
I know where it started.
They're doing a good job with the traffic control.
They are. It's,
Yeah.
it's tough. And the Riverfront Commons project, so as you all know, we finally got that out to the public for interested contractors
When
to
did
do
the
it.
bids due back?
And they're due back, I think, June the 18th or 17th. We had an on-site visit with interested contractors, so an informational briefing last week. And we had, I believe, 7 contractors show up.
Wow. Their Conservation Commission was
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
They did
I think, Ed, you were there?
Mike Duffy
You were there,
did a
you
really
were
good job. He did a very good job.
Is this the kind of thing that all these contractors feel like they could start this, or is that time part's not part of it?
You know, I wasn't able to, I know you were there, Ed. I think the feedback, the general sense that Riley's takeaway was
Next summer.
that, you know, if it could be a fall startup with,
Yeah.
you know, finishing up in the spring of
That'd
27.
be awesome.
And so Taylor's been actively involved, working with me and Riley and our grant administrator, and engaging with land and water conservation funding sources and other, and just talking strategically about our grants that are, you know, subject to being timed out. We've had a good conversation, and as much as I've raised concerns about losing our funding, I think we're starting to have some good, solid information that we can accomplish this. We've got some work to do to get approvals, but the door's not closed.
Right.
That's all I can remember off the top of my head.
That was pretty good. All right, it's pretty good. Select board reports. I was gonna mention First Friday, but you did. It was lovely. Love this town. Super fun. June 27th is the 4th of July at Remick Park.
Flowers are up on Main Street.
Flowers are on Main Street. That's beautiful.
Oh, that's another important one, board note. Main Street 2.
Oh, yes.
We've gone through our process and we have selected Weston and Sampson to the next level
Good.
of working with us now on their proposed scope and cost. And the reason I point that out, one of our own residents, Jim McMahon,
Oh, yep.
he works for Weston and Sampson. He was a DOT district engineer, engineering, and Weston Sampson we had 3 highly qualified firms, and but Weston Sampson was the one that we felt could serve us the best.
Are they engineering and construct?
So they would, you know, this was a very first step in getting this Main Street
Yeah.
Phase 2 project going, and the first step was trying to select on a qualification basis the engineering firm that will start doing the conceptual design work.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, back to, anyone else with select board
Yeah,
comments?
2 things. So, the thing, follow up on Riverfront. So, yeah, Lynn and I were there. I did talk to 2 of the bidders. One thing to maybe follow up is there was no info on whether there had been a survey of the barn for hazmat. I think the engineer thought there was, but they didn't have one. And the contractors were like, does it have lead paint, which I'm sure it does? Does it have asbestos? That matters a lot in terms of how you can dispose of it and what you can do with it. So that was one of the key questions.
I don't remember when we did the committee on that. John Hennessy was the chair of that committee. And I think I gave you my whole folder on the Riverfront Commons. Did I
I'll go
not?
look through my place where I put all these.
No, information.
Been done when we purchased it.
We have people in the back that have the answer. Eric, or Paul, whoever, go ahead.
So I went through what previous director of Public Works, Doug Danko, had files that he left with me. There's no evidence that a hazardous survey was done on that building. There was pictures of the current condition, but that was it.
Did you check with John Hennessy? Because he was chair of the committee and he might have even more information from working with the
You
engineer.
can grab the paperwork you gave me and see
Yeah,
what's in
because
there.
there may be something in there, but I would touch base with John. 'Cause
Chief,
he was the chair of that committee. And
Chief,
he
do you
might
have something else?
No, I was just pointing out.
Oh. All right.
Other thing that came up on that will need to be answered maybe after an award is made is whether and when the trail and the covered bridge might have to get closed. That's something that should be discussed with vendors, with a lot of people. That trail goes essentially right through the construction zone, and I believe it includes some ramps to the bridge.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why, since there's already ramps to the bridge, but that would require closure of the bridge as well, not a minor,
Oh, they're messing, they're changing.
not a minor
bridge.
impact, and there was not really answers. The contractors that I talked to on the side were like, it'd be a nightmare to run a construction site, and there's kids and dogs and kids,
Yeah.
people in strollers right outside the edge. It's just too much of a chance of problem. So that was not explicitly addressed, I think, in the RFP, and we'll see what kind of responses we get.
But the one thing about the ramp, the ramp is already there going down in front of the senior center. But I think what the project had called for was a ramp going the other side of it.
It's just a lot of money and a lot of disruption
Yeah.
for a double ramp.
You know, I have to agree with Ed on that,
Maybe
because
we
there's
should-
already a ramp there, it's
Yeah.
just they would have to go
I think Brian felt that
further.
this is maybe a question.
Maybe that saves some money.
There is some conditions with some of the grant money that may require it, and I've talked to
Yeah.
Riley on it, but I was like, why would we do that? We say, well, that alone is gonna cost a lot of money, just look at the grade that drops off.
Yeah. from
Yeah.
that side.
Yeah. Is it a ramp or staircase?
It's gotta be a handicap
It says a
ramp.
handicap.
Well, you have to
Look at
choose
the
them.
grade, that's gonna be quite the ramp.
Yeah,
Oh, it's gonna be down the end of the
It
trail.
will be, it's right.
yeah.
Interesting, I wonder to look at that. Maybe
Runaway
It's
trail.
not even coming to.
before you, I got a couple things.
Go ahead.
A foot out for every inch up.
Something like that.
It's a
I
lot.
don't know what the ramp requirements may be.
I think
Then you're gonna have rest ball plans.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not trying to complicate it, some of the questions came up.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I got two short things. I want
I got one more,
Oh, I'm
sorry.
sorry, I thought those were two.
No, just a question or request. Rail Trail Village, we haven't circled back on that for a while. That's a tax issue. Can we bring that back next meeting? And see where we're at?
Yeah.
So,
Check there was-
those are all my items.
No, that was a good one. I forgot about that. I just want to thank firemen for putting up the umbrellas in the Pollyanna walkway. They went up before First Friday, so it was a
Be glad.
hustle and bustle. It was good.
Pretty impressed watching the fire engine get angled in there so that they could get the.
They look really
ladder over.
cute. People take a lot of pictures. And I just, the police did a special Olympics event. Was it at Applebee's, Chief?
Yes.
It was tip a cop and all the funds went to Special Olympics. Oh, and the pianos are out too.
Yeah.
Or
I saw
coming
that
out.
today.
Yeah. So things are, and the flowers. So that's all my stuff.
Officially summer.
Do you have anything, Paul?
No.
Taylor?
No, ma'am.
All right, Linda, it's on you.
Yeah, I have several things. To go off what you had said earlier about Rudy's passing.
Yeah.
I would encourage the community to petition, write a letter, something to the casino, that they have a room or a bar or a machine or something named after Rudy, because he was such a staunch supporter of that casino coming into
The
town.
Rudy room.
The Rudy room, yeah, I
Put them on the chips, maybe. I don't know.
Rudy was Rudy, and I
The
just,
Rudy room would have to be loud.
That's actually the last meeting he came to, and the last thing he addressed us, he stood up and he said, I want to thank you guys. The casino's coming and we're all gonna win, or whatever he said. I was like, okay, Rudy.
yeah, I just think it would be really cool if that could happen for Rudy.
If only we had site plan review.
The next thing I have, we received a letter from a gentleman here in town that is calling out our assistant town clerk that she knew that this particular individual's brother was overdue to register his vehicle in town. I'm not going to read the whole letter. But he commends her genuine concern for my brother prompted her to request a well-being check on him My understanding is that Officer Ben, under the supervision of Sergeant Dave Wentworth?
Yeah, what one?
Well, it says SSGT. To me, that's Staff Sergeant. Okay, all right. Wentworth conducted a well-being check on my brother and found him needing EMS services. Had they not followed through, had this particular individual not followed through on their gut instinct, he cannot imagine what the outcome would have been. He said, mere words cannot express my sincere appreciation for these individuals going above and beyond the call of duty, especially in Jennifer DeForest's case. She just knew something wasn't right. Our family will be forever grateful to her for all that she did today, as well as Staff Sergeant Wentworth and Officer Ben, because I can't pronounce his last name.
Triple.
What is it? Tripoletti? Thank you. The town of Littleton should be proud of the work these employees did for one of their residents today. I know our family is, and it's from the McDonald family. I just want to add to that, we have the best municipal employees that I have ever had contact with. And my hat's off to Jen for going with her gut, and that the police department listened to her, you know, and did go do the welfare check, the well-being check. The other thing I want to do, it was requested of me by a town employee, which I staunchly support, that we bring again before the board the Juneteenth. We discussed that last year, and the board did not vote to do that day as a holiday. I have done some research on the Juneteenth commemoration, and it commemorates the fact that in June 19th in 1865, the enslaved African Americans in Texas were finally informed of their freedom, marking the delayed enforcement of the Emancipation Proclamation. And I know that it's a federal holiday.
Yeah,
it's a
June
bank
19th.
holiday.
Yeah.
I think it would behoove us as a town to look at that and give them an additional. And my personal opinion is to do it just on the 19th, but I don't know what the federal, do they do it on the 19th or they do it
It's always on
on the Monday? Oh,
It's
they
always
do it
on
on the
19th, so it could
19th.
be a Tuesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
It happens to fall on a Friday this year.
Yeah, I think it's always.
So if you all are willing to entertain a motion, I'll make a motion that we put that in place for our town employees. If you want to study it and come back, that's up to you all.
Do you have any thoughts, Troy?
Well,
I know some
We've
groups
got,
have it.
well, we got union contracts and personnel policy. I mean, and this was an item that we were negotiating last summer. And
Right.
probably will be negotiated on the table again this year with the next 2 units. But I think, if we wanted to do some type of recognition this year, we could do our non-essential employees, and they could, because it's essentially a half day on a Friday. So it does align well with the town office, like a half day. But if we granted something as a holiday town-wide, you're getting into union contracts and compensation and stuff, so.
And staffing schedule challenges.
Yeah.
Schedule challenges.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
well,
kind of
any
short notice, that holiday.
I mean, any holiday. So then my suggestion would be I'll make a motion that we do something this year and that the board
Work on it for.
would work on it, especially with the contracts and everything, to create that additional holiday for the town employees, which would give them, what, 10?
I
total?
think 10.
11 total,
11.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a very important
I
holiday.
think it's an important holiday because it is part of American history. And I think it needs to be recognized. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, like I know in the town, it's a federal holiday, so
Right.
our interaction with state employees, I think the state's closed.
Is this?
Yeah.
Banks are closed, yeah, I think it's a bank and state
Is it
holiday.
not? Is it open?
Bank in New Hampshire has a sign, I think,
Yeah,
that says we'll be closed June 19th for
I believe they do.
they do, I passed it and I was like, oh, they're closed.
Yeah,
So banks are closed, I mean, stores are open, it's not.
yeah.
Does it ever take time to get into the contracts, but we can direct her that as contracts come up,
Yeah, add it
All
to it.
right, to add it to it as long as it remains a federal
I
holiday.
mean, if we're gonna do it this year, it'd kind of be just show that we are serious about the
Yeah.
holiday.
Knock off, well, I mean, can you do it at this short notice?
I don't know. It's
Like I said, if we
tricky.
did,
It's a Friday.
if I did something this year, just, it would, more be like that administrative, non-essential employees that would.
Would you need our approval on that, or could you just?
I've made that decision before,
Yeah.
or an early release.
Yeah, during Christmas.
For the
Yeah.
4th of July
Yeah.
or something like that when it aligns. This year, in this case, it's a Friday, so we could do like a.
Does it make essential employees feel badly? We have some in
Well,
the room.
that's the thing, it's like
I'm just
you've got
asking
the
because-
transfer station people, they gotta be there, the firemen, the policemen, and
Yeah, so I was wondering if it's hard
Office
to.
staff.
Would be the office, yeah, the office.
that's what it ended up being. really.
I think it's up to your discretion.
Yeah, all right, I'll take that as good feedback.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But I think the board needs to visit it.
Like in a real way.
Forward and move it
Yeah.
real way.
Next time something comes up, we'll do it.
It's probably gonna show up in the union contracts.
How am I gonna negotiate that now when they actually demand that's their request? And I'm like, absolutely not.
The board's
I watched the TV show and they told you to do it.
Can we,
It ruined my whole strategy.
It's our
can
job.
we put an addendum to the union contracts, even though they're completed
could.
for this year? Okay,
You could.
all right.
Yeah.
So that's something we could consider as a board.
What we're saying.
Yeah, when they come and need something, we could say, all right, we got something too.
All right.
Okay, so at my discretion,
Yeah,
I'll take a look.
You see what, okay, great. So I think we are done with select board reports. Taylor, do you have anything? No. All right, so now we're gonna go on to public comment, 3 minutes each, please, and gonna watch and do our thing. Raise your hand. I see Bruce's hand. You may go first, Bruce.
Well, I'll make a couple of them. First of all, I was gonna talk to Paul about it, but these electric bikes that are around town,
Yeah.
somebody's gonna get hurt, killed out of the thing on it. And if you could, I don't know if you could make an ordinance or something like this on it, to make some wear green jackets or green shirts or something like that. But we had one, I know of somebody down in Woodsville that got terribly hurt just recently out of it. But they're in and out and all over the place, and there's something that needs to be done about it, no matter what. I don't know if you can legally do it or not, but you need to be addressing the thing somehow, because it's not a good thing that's happening up there. I don't blame them, because it's efficiency from that type of consequence. What they're doing is they're driving on the sidewalks, they're driving in between the traffic, and the fact that most of them are wearing just black. They should be able to have something that, for the benefit of the people from that part of it.
Good point. Thank you.
I don't know how you get it done. The other one though, I'm still very concerned about when you shut me off out of the thing on it with money. The water and light, I told you, they won a lawsuit. The town of Lincoln paid for their whole sewer system down there on a lawsuit. The town of Littleton, in turn, I'll bet you none of you guys that are on that board down there know what the river is classified as. Do you?
I do
I'm
not
asking
know
the
what
town
the river is
manager.
classified as.
I don't know what classification you're talking about. What?
Every river in the state is classified. That river is classified as a Class B river. And what you people have been doing is you've been making Class A water at the treatment plant. And then you will go 100 feet down. They don't need to be buying that expensive equipment pertaining to it out of it. And you paid that out for $230,000 out of it too. And I think you would find that you could possibly go back against them on a lawsuit for giving you not information, and they shouldn't be doing that.
Was your point that water's being treated to a higher level? in
Yes,
the
it
city?
is. There's
Okay.
no reason for it. And you gotta have the special equipment to do it. So why don't we in turn look at the people that they paid $230,000 for and possibly get them involved with a lawsuit to get our money back out of it?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Did you have your hand up?
I can't remember.
That's okay. Anyone else have their hand up? We got 3 minutes
I got
open for
one
people.
more.
All right, I just want to make sure, because it's part of our thing to see if anybody else wants to, and if they don't, I'll give you more time. Anybody else? Okay, Bruce, one more, go ahead.
No more pilots, that would be the first thing. No more pilots at all.
I don't know if we
We
can
got
do that.
screwed the last time with the town manager here working on a pilot. Out of it, it cost us $250,000 out of it when he in turn did the pilot. And the board needs to learn something. Do not automatically turn things over to any town manager, not just him, about signing on behalf of you out of it. This is not a way you do it. You should be authoritative to be able to run it, but you don't give authority to have somebody sign for you. You should not be doing that.
I'll be very clear, I boss him around like nobody.
Well, you haven't bossed him around. I've watched him. I've watched you in turn give it without looking at it and bringing it up. And I don't care whether it's him or anybody else on it. You shouldn't be doing that.
Well, right now, tonight you heard us choose 2 people that are going to be at the pilot, so we're not going to be doing, he's not going to be doing it in a vacuum. And with the Great River Hydro, we were all really a big part of that decision. Even though you don't like the decision, we definitely were all part of it. It wasn't him doing it
I'm saying in the
unilaterally.
future, you need to be looking at it.
Yep.
Do not jump into something.
I get it.
If you don't do that, you in turn need to put it on to the next meeting or something like that and investigate something before you make some decisions. But you do not need to be turning it around. He did the same thing when you gave him permission to in turn hire him to get an attorney out of the thing on it.
We were part of that, we tasked him with that, he did not decide to do it on his own.
He in turn volunteered it and you gave it to him. You don't do that.
That's our decision.
We actually can do it.
I just,
Our decision.
You know, I'd like to just make a comment
Yeah,
in response to those comments, because this is a public meeting and it's being recorded and there's going to be meeting minutes. I want to make sure that everyone in this room clearly understands that as the town manager, I work with the select board. In regards to the pilot agreement that was negotiated with Great River Hydro, the select board was involved in every single decision, every step of the way. In fact, the negotiations occurred with me in the room, 2 select board members, Mr. Sansucci, and our legal counsel. There was a team that negotiated the pilot.
And it came
It
out
was
loud.
not the town
It
manager.
cost us $250,000 to the taxpayers out of it, and that's what we got out of it.
I just wanted for the
Cost a lot
record,
more.
Yeah.
it was not me acting as a dictator. I was
Right.
working with the select board under their control and direction.
Thanks for clarifying that. I think sometimes it looks like, but there's things that are happening, you know, yeah, we have non-publics, we have things that, you know,
Sometimes you have to, I understand that.
And
yeah,
the
there is
other
stuff
thing is-
happening that people don't see, so he's not working on his own.
And I think it's important for
Well,
the,
you're giving him permission to sign for you and stuff like that. Don't do that.
and it's important for people to understand, we use the term pilot, and you may not know what that term means, but it's an acronym for payment in lieu of taxes. So when we have pilot agreements, we actually meet with certain entities that are not required to pay property taxes. And we sit down with them and we talk to them saying, you know, we understand you're tax exempt, you're not required to pay taxes. However, the size of your operation, or whatever it is that you do in our town, there are impacts and there are services that you're using. And the law allows these 2 parties to negotiate an agreement, and it's called a payment in lieu of taxes. So in regards to Littleton Regional Hospital, they're not paying $1 of property taxes. They're exempt from those taxes.
You're wrong.
And we want to sit down and negotiate the pilot.
You're wrong.
It is my understanding, we had a pilot agreement, it expired, and that they're tax exempt. So, but this committee that we talked about today, we'll look into that, and it will not be me acting alone on my own authority.
You got the same identical thing with the post office. The post office that rents out space, they should be taxed on it too. The people that run the courts are a private company that runs the courts out of it. And as a result of it, they should be taxed, and they have rented it out to office space to other people, so we should be taxing them.
Okay, so that concludes the 3 minutes. If anyone else, yeah, Mary? go
Just
ahead.
a quick question.
Yep.
Your work sessions are also public?
Yes, we have public work sessions. We can only go into non-public for very distinct reasons, like hiring and firing, illegal litigation, a few others.
So what's the difference between a board meeting and a work session? I'm just
When we
curious.
can't, we need to get to something before the next meeting, and it just
okay.
is really urgent. So when we hired Troy, we had to, we had so many applications, all those interviewing were non-public, and we just had to have work sessions. Sometimes we have a lot of work sessions, we haven't really had any recently. And we try not to go into non-public very often, but.
Just curious as to what
No, it's
the
good.
difference was.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Historically, a work session is usually for one specific topic, and that's it.
Yeah.
So the board can spend an hour, 2 hours on working out, fleshing out, getting their answers.
So like this fee schedule, let's say we brought it to meetings and then we felt like we needed 1 more hour to work on it, we could go to a work session, it's public still, finish it up, bring it to the next meeting and vote, just so we're not using up too much time or whatever. Okay. Anything else? Do you want to, I think we have one more thing.
We have no non-public sessions to go into.
Are we going into non-public today? I think, I saw you got an email, but I didn't get a chance to read it.
Oh.
It came so late. So should
Yeah,
we?
we do have one non-public.
All right, so we're gonna go into non-public under RSA 91A 3(2)A.
Okay, before we go into
Yes.
non-public, I will not be able to be part of that.
Okay,
Okay.
yep.
To Littleton Select Board Chair, Board members, and Town Manager, this is to inform you that I am resigning my position as Little Select Board member. I wish to thank Troy, Carrie, Paul, Ed, and Taylor for supporting me these past several months. Thank you for allowing me to work with you. Thank you to the voters of Littleton. You put your trust in me, and I did the best I could with as much information as was available in making decisions for the betterment of the town. Thank you for allowing me to work on the Police Advisory Board, Planning Board, Riverfront Commons, Lakeway Committee, and more that I do not actually remember specifically. We did accomplish a great deal over these last 20-plus years. You will continue to accomplish much for the benefit of the town. And growing up in Littleton, being a third generation, I have grown to appreciate what Littleton stands for, a community of people that want the best for everyone, the best for Littleton, and welcoming those that visit as well as those that make it their home. I will miss the people, working with the town managers, previously Jim Gleason and now Troy. I will miss the department heads, the municipal employees, the dynamic of getting things done and improving our town. I trust that when we return in about a year for a visit, I will see great improvements and even a more vibrant downtown. Thank you for your confidence and support in me.
I think we have a couple things for you, some flowers, candle, and a card from us. And
Beautiful.
personally, I just want to say thank you. I'm not going to get teary, but coming into this, you were such a supporter and held my hand, and seeing a strong woman come,
Yeah.
I stepped into something that was new for me. And you've been very helpful, and I consider you a friend, and I learned a lot from you, and I really appreciate.
And I still expect you to text me.
Okay. If anybody else wants to say anything.
No,
go
it's
ahead.
been a pleasure. I mean, the select board that the town has in place is an incredible diverse group. Strong personalities,
Yep.
but you keep Troy on task. I think we did good when we hired you, and I'd like to see you stay for a few more years.
Working on it.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to say to Linda, I want to personally thank her, because when I was selected to become the next town manager here, Linda and I spent a lot of time prior to me officially starting, and obviously when I first came on board. And she spent a lot of time educating me on the past and where we want to go in the future, and welcoming my family, my wife and my children when they came up. And it was probably the best onboarding experience I've ever had in my career.
Aww.
You really made it special, and really assisted and helped me. So it's tough to lose you.
I
You
know.
taught me a lot too.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed teaching you, so.
We're gonna miss you, Linda. All right. So,
Make motions.
make a motion to go into the non-public.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second.
second. All in favor? Aye.
We're going next door.
Yeah, we'll go in that room.